friends. So welcome to DBC Live. We are so excited to join you all tonight. We have Micah in the house. Super excited to have him with us tonight. Welcome, Micah.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. So Micah is the author of a few books, right? We're going to be talking a little bit about his book Wanderlust tonight. And Micah does a plethora of things in education. He's an incredible, I always think of you as a tech guy. Like, I don't know. I just think that like you probably have a lot of answers to a lot of questions I have. That's what I kind of think about you, Micah. So I will let you formally introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little bit about what you do, where you're at, and kind of what day-to-day looks like in your world right now.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks again. I really appreciate you taking the time to have me on. I'm a 8th grade social studies teacher. I teach in upstate New York. We call it the other New York. I'm not in New York City. That's why I speak so clearly, right? Or Canadian, like my Canadian colleagues, it's like home. I've been teaching for 22 years, middle school. And I also am a college professor. I teach at Syracuse University. I have a PhD in instructional design where I teach adult learning theory. I also teach plan change and innovation and strategies for both the corporate and education spaces. And I teach organizational behavior at the undergraduate level as well. On top of all of that, I'm also the CEO of Ready Learner One, which is a training and learning company that serves, again, both the corporate and education spaces. And we do a lot of our education work through Changemaker, where we met a lot of you this summer again for our second Changemaker conference.
Yes, I told you, Micah has a lot of answers to a lot of questions. I think he's just one of those guys, just knows everything. It does a little bit of everything. And so I love that. And I love that you're in the classroom and you get to share these experiences with students every day. And you're never at this place where you're not learning. Like, I feel like you're Ready Learner One. Like, you're always learning, you're always trying something new. So Micah, tell us a little bit about, well, before we get into that, I want to remind everyone, first of all, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm loving the comments over in the comment section. Remember, all of those comments from now until tomorrow afternoon. So if you're watching this on the playback, get your comments over there. They will enter you to win the book Wanderlust EDU. We're going to talk a little bit about that in just a moment. But yeah, who wouldn't want a free, amazing book? So get your comments over there. We will randomly select someone to be the winner. And Micah, since we're speaking a little bit about the book, tell us a little bit about what you were hoping the readers would gain from this book if someone out there hasn't read it yet.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, the funny thing is, my reason for writing Wanderlust was to help all of us in education, myself included, because it was very therapeutic. Think about change and choosing change and using a phrase adopt instead of integrate when it comes to technology. And that was my mantra. I was telling myself, is how can I help people in this choice-driven shift? And then COVID strikes, and it's no longer a choice-driven shift. It's what we do now. So the book, I believe, really speaks to both of those. It spoke to me. It's a personal book. It's an evergreen topic to me. And my hope is that it would help others to not only rediscover their why and our why as teachers and educators, but also to help plan for the future, a future that's a bit uncertain, but will certainly have a great impact on our students.
Yes, indeed. And I love that you wrote it before COVID, and it's now just so relevant, every little bit of it. So if you haven't picked up Wanderlust, you're interested in it, you can click the link that Dave has provided over in the comment section or on our website, daveburgessconsulting.com. If you go down to Wanderlust, you can actually preview the book for free, which is so amazing, before you even purchase it. But one of you is going to win it. So hold out at least till tomorrow afternoon. So Micah, I know that you have some amazing things to share with us tonight. On Thursday nights, we just love to give our people something they can chew on, they can think about, they can implement the next day, anything like that. Just inspire us with something that you have to share. And I can't wait to learn from you tonight. So If you are just now joining, please do get your comments over in the comment section. If you have some questions for Micah as he's speaking, drop those in the comment section. This is your chance to talk to the author. We are just real people out here excited to learn alongside with all of you. So Micah, I'm gonna let you take it away. I'm gonna put your slides up here. And yeah, take it away, brother. It's all you.
Awesome. Thanks again. There's so much in this book that we could unpack, but I thought I'd really want to focus on some things that have resonated with me in my classroom experience as a result of the pandemic, as a result of thinking more and more about my students' future and how it's very different than my past. And so, one thing I wanted to share tonight was revisiting first ourselves and then thinking about our students through what I call the performance success model. And so this performance success model has these attributes of human performance that, when positively influenced, will lead to success. So if we have increase in knowledge, increase in skills, increase in a positive environment, and an increase in both our intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, we're going to be successful. And if we start to remove these things, for example, knowledge, several years ago, I was voluntold that I would be teaching a different content area than I trained in as a teacher. And so that experience caused me great anxiety because I didn't have the knowledge that I needed. Skills was a big one too with the pandemic. A lot of us, even with a really good toolkit of ed tech, that wasn't really heavily related to the pandemic. We weren't really ready to go completely virtual with our students. And so skills also have to do with our strategies, not just our knowledge of tools. And when those are missing, we've got massive frustrations. And we saw that on an unparalleled level, I think, in education. Our environment's a big deal. I think at first I was excited about being home with my own 3 kids and spending time with them in between my class periods as I was teaching from home during quarantine. But you do start to get this feeling of being trapped, what they used to call cabin fever. So your environment can start positive, but it can shift negative. And then, of course, motivation. Motivation, again, is a big theme of this book because it's really about your why as a teacher, remembering that, which is an intrinsic motivator. It's what drives you. I call that the wanderluster motivation, loving the journey as an educator, not just being driven by the tokens of this world, money, fame, the red carpet. Oh, wait, that's not teaching. Anyhow, you know what I mean. The salary, the summers, whatever. So this performance success model is based on really good research from a field of study called human performance technology. This is based on the work of a man named Joe Harless. I can't take credit for it. I unpacked his work and framed it this way because I thought it had more meaning. The difference between knowledge and skills is really interesting. We sometimes debate that. The thing I really like about it is to think about riding a bike. You can read a book about riding a bike. You can watch a YouTube video about riding a bike. You could take a test on riding a bike, but unless you've actually ridden a bike, you don't have the skill. So they really are 2 distinct things. And I think this model outlays that very nicely. And now for our students, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to comment on that. I think that's so true because a lot of times, with anything, a lot of students, I find several of my students anyway, so intrigued by something, right? They've studied it, they learned it, they watched every YouTube video about it, read all the books about it, but then you get out there and actually try it. And it is a whole new ballgame. I mean, even with the fitness, I love fitness, I'm very interested in CrossFit, but I could read about it, watch other people do it, and be excited about it and know a lot of things about it. But getting out there and actually doing it and being consistent with it and practicing it, that's where the rubber really meets the road, and where you really realize like your skills are so much lower than your knowledge a lot of times. And I think it's a lot like that with, my son just graduated college and he's like, man, they do not prepare you for this out in the work world. It's just so frustrating because when you get out there, you think you have all those skills, but the truth is you really just have all that knowledge. And now you got to practice the skills.
And it's an opportunity as teachers to really practice what we preach as well, because when there's a skill gap and we're in front of our students and we are trying something new and it fails right in front of them, let's be real, that actually happens. Not every classroom lesson or room is a Pinterest moment, right?
Right.
So it's failing in front of our students. That's an opportunity to show this sense of agency, of stick-to-itiveness, to demonstrate as an adult, this is how we move through a problem. Now, it'd be a lot easier when tech fails if you were like, hey, everybody put your heads down.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been in situations as a dad where, I've got to fix the plumbing in my house or something. And I don't exercise really good agency. I'm not as polished as I would like to be. And I'm wondering, is that happening for my students as well? And taking a step back as a dad and saying, okay, or as a teacher, I'm doing this in front of kids. I'm going to show them how I problem solve live and how I may even fail live. I think that's a really important teachable moment.
Agreed. And working through the frustration. I mean, without the skill, comes the frustration. That's what this graph is saying. And I think that's so true. I think Dave and I were just talking about one of the things that he put in his Sunday 7 on Sunday was trying to do one tough thing each day. And sometimes that tough thing, that could look so different for everybody, right? But a lot of times, like, we know a lot of things about that tough task. But then when you get into doing the tough task, you really just know you don't have quite the skill level that you do the knowledge level, and you don't want to deal with the frustration. But if we can ever get to this place where we, like you said, we model for our students working through the frustration as a part of the learning process, then we get to this place where we could have the success, right? Because we're building the skills as we're working through the process of dealing with the frustration, if that makes sense.
Totally. You're breaking a mental sweat, as they say. Absolutely. Yeah, stretching our mental muscles. So this model has been a fave of mine. I've seen other models out there that look kind of similar, but I wasn't really sure about the research, and I couldn't frankly find it. And maybe it's my little PhD hat, but I've got to find good research when I'm going to use something. This one is based on high quality research in human performance technology. That's why I feel real comfortable talking about it. Plus, it's so practical.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next thing I wanted to share was thinking about ourselves and who we are when it comes to trying something new in terms of skills. That's a perfect segue. It's like we wrote this together. The adopter curve is a lot of fun to look at. I wrote a quiz. You can find it at bit.ly adopter quiz, all lowercase. And the quiz uses some words that are associated with these 5 areas that help us identify who we are, a little self-reflection when it comes to adopting or trying something new. And an innovator is a very attractive name that a lot of us like, the person who's out there who takes the leap. But when it comes to the adoption curve, an innovator has to have an early adopter. There's a really great TED Talk by Sievers. I forget his, Eric Sievers, I think. It's called The First Follower. And his first follower is the early adopter. And the early adopter is someone who is more relatable to their colleagues. And they are somebody who doesn't try it first, but they're someone who tries it and it's successful, or they just don't choose to adopt. And that's really, really important when it comes to trying something new, is that if you're an innovator and you go out there first, you've got to empower those who travel with you on this journey, because that's going to lead to real positive change and bring the majority along with us. I'm looking at Monica's post here. Oh, yeah. Feeling powerless is a dangerous thing for sure. How do we take that step back and understand what control we have? And if we don't have control, what steps we can take to move forward can be a real challenge. Sometimes, Derek Sievers, thank you, Dave. I really appreciate that. Sometimes, Monica, that step back is very, very important. And that self-reflection, I think, is very powerful. I often find that when I go for walks. No technology, just go for a walk. Speaking about these, adopters and who we are, I've been doing some interesting things with students, both undergraduate, graduate, and middle school. And that's taking them into a more fun way of looking at yourself. What I like to do with them is use the Adobe Creative Types. I'm going to pull that screen up. Let me change my share really quickly. So let me go ahead and pull that up.
Kristen already took the quiz. She's
Well,
an innovator.
I told you she's an innovator. Absolutely. Let me go ahead and pull up my window.
I'm not surprised by that, Kristen.
All right. Oh, I pulled up the wrong one. Sorry. Hold on one second. Look at that. That's me looking at me, looking at you, looking at me. Here we go. Sorry about that. Okay.
You wanted that YouTube video, Derek Sivers, then Dave also dropped that over in the comments. So be sure and check that out too.
Yeah. Fantastic. So this is the Adobe Creative Type survey. And Adobe actually uses this to put teams together. It's really pretty cool. You take a 5 to 7 minute quiz of which word is like you, similar to my adopter quiz, but more fun, more colorful. And it tells you what kind of person you are in this creative type world. So are you a thinker? Are you a maker? Are you an artist, a dreamer? It's a ton of fun. And what's really cool about it is after you take this quiz, it's great to use with kids. You can use it to identify how to get into groups. So for example, if I was a thinker, it means I have deep thoughts and big questions. But it means I have creative strengths, untapped potential, but with groups, this is the cool part. It tells me I need to be working with an adventurer. This is really, really important because if we don't mix with the correct other creative types, it prohibits our productivity. So for example, I've done design thinking activities with students, give them a problem, they come up with some cool solutions, and then have them take this quiz to see what their group was made up as. And I had a lot of fun last year when I did this with my students where they completed the prototypes. All of them except for one group got nothing done. And I said, okay, let's take the quiz and let's see what your creative type is. And sure enough, I had a whole group of middle school dreamers, all of them. And so all the dreamers, we laughed about it. All the dreamers thinking about that process, they were thinking about their thinking, but actually getting something on paper. They didn't have a producer or a maker in their group, and it caused them to have some inability to complete the task and get it done. But we got to have those dreamers is the point. So one of my takeaways tonight is to really try this out. It's called My Creative Type at mycreativetype.com, and it's built by Adobe. Lots of fun, definitely worth taking a look at with students.
I'm gonna put that over in the chat as well. That is just amazing. And, you know, Dave actually talks a lot about this when forming the team for DBC Inc. You know, we're a small team, very mighty though. And his point, he and Shelly's plan, the whole process, and he probably will explain it over in the comments, but was to make sure we had all of these different skill sets, personality types, knowing that it was going to be a little more challenging at team meetings to like get everybody understanding their part and their piece in the process, but also knowing that we could have a small but mighty team if we had all of these things represented. And so I really, really love that. I don't think he took this a quiz, but I think he's just a mastermind and already knew what to do. But it's really cool when we all get together because we really are all in our own separate lanes. But when you come together, it just makes like such a beautiful team. It's just like what you're saying. I think oftentimes though, Micah, I don't know if you find this to be true, but we think we want the people just like us. We think we want to like collaborate with them. But the truth is we're so much more productive and we can run like literally a multi-million-dollar company if we have all the different pieces.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd have to agree. You guys are a mighty team for sure. The idea of thinking about yourself and what your needs are with that performance model, then thinking about yourself as an adopter, and then thinking about yourself as a member of a team is a beautiful progression to go through. Because, you know, it's human nature. Even I do a lot with geo tools. It's human nature to think about where you physically are and then make meaning of the rest of the world from there. And, you know, from a psychological level, it's the same thing. Think about you and your needs, then think about who you are to others. And then what others do you need to attach yourself to? And that's a really important progression that I do talk a bit about in the book as well. I wanted to pull up another couple slides if that's okay.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
My slides, by the way, come right out of the book, Wanderlust EDU, that were all drawn by a colleague of mine, Chris Stein. He's a tech teacher that I work with. He's a pretty cool dude. So I'm pulling this up here, from the adopter curve. Let me go to my next slide. This looks super wonky. I got it, but let me explain it to you. This is called activity theory, and this is the activity of pretty much anything and how all these different components in life interact towards a common goal. And it came out of communist Russia, which is kind of neat. One side of the Cold War, this was being developed, and we had no idea that psychologists in the Soviet Union were developing this. So you see the subjects there. This is us in groups and how we are working together, right? This is our innovators, etc. Tools that could be pedagogy, could be my favorite VR headset or whatever, but it could also just be a strategy and a pen and paper. But now we start to think about community and division of labor. Division of labor is like a hierarchy. Community is the place in which we operate or conduct our activities. And this is where the people part of this gets pretty real. There's Conway's Law. Conway's Law talks about organizations out there, and it's not very kind, but Conway talks about how different large organizations are structured and how their productivity is organized. And you can see Conway's not much of a fan of Microsoft, and he probably thinks Google's a bit complicated, and that perhaps Facebook is overly egalitarian and Amazon's overly structured. But the idea is that where we place ourselves in organizations is a really big deal. And it's, again, starts with ourselves, our teams, and then our community. And all that together puts us in an important place for understanding change and how we can help others. And the last thing I thought I would share is from the book is the fusion model. And this is a model I wrote about planned change. And so you take this idea of all this activity in chronological phases and understand if we're going to adopt something new, is it meaningful? And we're in this, do we get to this decision phase, which infers that we don't adopt it and that we just stop. And this is where we start to understand change. And one simple thing I talk about in the book is if your school wanted to go paperless, you could set that as an agenda. You could start to make plans for it. But soon you're going to get rid of the photocopiers. And instead of hiring a photocopy repairman, you're going to hire a digital designer, an interactive lesson creator that can help with digital tools. And so that kind of shift, we can plan for that. We can plan for a lot of that. And that's what the fusion model here does.
Yeah, I like that. That's awesome. It's so much to think about too. I feel like I need to just stare at it for a little. I'm like a kind of a slower processor. I love to pay attention to every single detail. That's one of my strengths on the team.
In Wanderlust, I was cautious to make sure that this wasn't the focus of the book. I just wanted to give folks a tool for thinking about change. It's very heady stuff, but the point is we can do it. We can plan for a change. We can plan for a better future. We can plan for better tools and technologies 3 to 5 years down the road. We can do that, not just based on people predicting what technology is going to be available, but what's going to be best for our students. We can think that. There are tools in place that help us think that way.
Yeah, and I love the models too, but I really appreciate too just thinking about who we're working with and how we're going to attack or respond to the change, right? Because the truth is, as administrator, with my administrator hat on, I'm thinking about, forming those teams, how are we putting together, I'm thinking of teachers, educators. I know you're, teachers out there, you're thinking of students. That's great too. But in my world, I'm thinking I need to be more cautious of, especially when I was in that role, of forming those teams so they could respond well to change, because that's where it kind of all starts. We know change is coming. We know we can handle it, but it's, making sure that we have all those different strengths and talents and, ability types. What did you call them earlier? You called them
Creative types, yeah.
Creative types, yeah. We have all the creative types ready to respond to it, and I love this model too. This one right here. They
Yeah.
said it will work for anything.
Yeah, it really will. It really, truly will. It is not designed for education by any means. It's a planned change model.
Yeah.
And this one triangle you notice was 5 times on the fusion model. This triangle is a microscope. It's a lens to look at what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And where do we want to be? And how is it going to impact? If I introduce Chromebooks to a school that's been paperless for a century, if I introduce that tool, how is that going to disrupt the community?
Yes.
How is it going to disrupt the subjects, the teachers? What change is going to be made? And we can think about that. We can plan for that.
And what are we going to put in place to make sure that we move it forward, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I love it. And guys, if you're interested in Wanderlust, you're interested in learning more from Micah. I told you, he is just amazing. I've only talked to you one other time, and I was just like, well, I could listen to this guy all day. I'm kind of with Kristen. But there's so many things that, to think about. There's so many things to learn. And if you're interested in learning more, where can they follow you, Micah? If they want to get in touch with you, they want to learn more from you, where can they find you?
So I'm in a couple of spots. I'm on Twitter. It's at Micah Shippee. I have it right here that way. At Micah Shippee on Twitter. Micah Shippee on Facebook. My parents were wise enough to give me a unique first name, so there's no other Micah Shippee out there. It's just me. Double P double E. I'm on Instagram. It's Shipster. I don't know how you're going to find that, but I'm there. LinkedIn, of course. My website, micahshippee.com. And you can see a little bit of the work I do at readylearner.one. Readylearner.one is my company site. And we also do work with education in the Changemaker site. That's changemakeredu.org.
Lots of places to find Micah. So definitely check him out. Follow him. Check out the content. Ready Learner One content is always putting out great content too. Dave is dropping some of those links over in the comments section. Also, you'll find the link to Wanderlust above and below this video. One of you is going to be a lucky winner of this book. But if you haven't picked this up yet and you're interested in learning more about some of the topics that Micah talked about tonight when it concerns change and preparing and thinking about it for our future, because change is always going to happen. Check out Wanderlust. Be sure and pick up that book. It's amazing. It's a quick read, but it's also something that makes you think. So be prepared for that too. I mean, it's a small book, small but mighty, right? But yes, we are so grateful to have you, Micah. A lot of people were commenting on how amazing your spectacles are tonight. I couldn't agree more. And just so grateful to have you on the show tonight, for sure.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you all.
Awesome. If you guys need anything else, be sure and comment below. Tag Micah. He's always super available, also on Twitter. And Dave dropped his link over there. So Monica's curious about that quiz. We do have that link over in the comment section. I think it's called
mycreativetype.com. And yes, that's the Adobe one, mycreativetype.com.
And then he also has a quiz. What was the bit.ly for that one?
bit.ly adopter quiz, all lowercase.
bit.ly adopter. I'll let Dave put it in there. bit.ly adopter quiz. Dave dropped that over in the comment section.
I've also written a full book study for the book, self-paced. If anyone's interested in that, they can reach out to me. Ping me on Twitter. I can help you with that.
Yeah, certainly. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We just love Thursday night PD. I love getting my brain going and right before I go to bed, give me some good things to dream about. But have a wonderful evening. Remember, next Thursday, same place, same time, different guest. And Micah, we just are so thankful that you took some time out of your day to spend with us this evening. So really appreciate you.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.